conversations with both Rabbi Lewis and Pastor Covington have had a profound effect on me. First of all, 10 years ago, to be honest, I never would have written a book like this. I was pretty cynical about religion, and I was fairly removed from it, even though I'd been very, very heavily indoctrinated to it when I was a kid. I mean, more than most. Not only the normal religious schools and the Sunday schools and things like that, but when I was 11 years old, I was sent by my parents to a religious academy where from that age until I graduated high school, half the day was biblical study and biblical commentary and ancient Aramaic texts. I mean, really heavy stuff. But then I walked away from it and just kind of figured, all right, I got that. You know, I'm going to go live life. And by the time 10 years ago had come, all I was really focusing on was sort of the scandals of religion, the church scandals and the ethnic cleansing wars done in the name of God and terrorism done in the name of some God. And I just felt that, this is where religion gets you. Having spent time with these two men, I got to see the flip side of that, which is that was all big headline stuff. I got to see the small little moments of faith. I got to see Pastor Covington, who himself had once been a thief and a drug addict and a bad guy on every kind of level, and then asked Jesus to save him on a night that he thought he was going to be killed, and he was saved. Not only see his own life turn around, but then he encountered later in life a homeless man who was a crack addict, who was actually stealing from him. They had a food service thing, and he hired him to like unload the food, and the guy would take one for the church, two for him, one for the church, two for him. And he never said anything to him because he knew he must have been hungry, and that's why he needed it. And this man one night was squatting in an apartment, and it flooded because someone stole a pipe to try to get the copper, and he was soaking wet, flooded out, and he comes to work and he says, "I can't work for you today, Pastor. I'm all flooded out, you know. These are the only clothes I have, and they're all soaking wet." And Pastor Covington looked at him and he said, "Well, where are you going to live now?" And he said, "I don't know, I got no place to live." And the pastor said, "Well, why don't you live with me?" And he moved him into his home, where his children lived upstairs and his wife lived upstairs in a tiny little home, and let him sleep on his couch for a year. Didn't even know the guy, really. He could have been anything. He could have done anything. And now today that man is not only cleaned up and sober and married and has a beautiful little daughter, but he's an elder of the church. And I saw that. There was no headlines with that. Nobody wrote that story, whatever, but this was going on a regular basis with him. Or I saw the rabbi in his office when nobody was looking with his bony 90-year-old fingers dialing old congregants from the congregation and just making sure that they were okay and listening while they complained about their gallbladder and their operation, and just make sure we see you in services this week. Remember you're part of a community. Just reminding them they were part of something. Again, a small, tiny act of faith that nobody chronicled. And I realized that I was wrong to be cynical about religion or faith. Headlines are not how you should judge faith. Because, of course, nobody's going to write a story about a guy calling an old congregant or someone helping a homeless man. Doesn't make headlines. But that is really what faith is about, those small little acts. And so when you ask me, how did seeing these men change me, about faith? In every way, because I got to see the daily acts of faith that these men of God did, and they were inspiring. I don't know how anybody could witness that and not be moved.